Hi, welcome to On Location Revelstoke. I'm Robb, and we're live in Revelstoke with another incredibly inspiring episode brought to you by TELUS STORYHIVE. Today I'm sitting with music producer Chris Creglia, who has just gotten to town. He is a phenomenal talent, and we're going to dive into his history, his story, and what plans he has for the future now he's in Revelstoke. Chris, thanks for having me, buddy.
Thanks for coming by, Rob. Appreciate it.
I'm excited to dive into Pick Your Mind as a music producer to music producer. I feel like this is going to be one of my favorite episodes because, like, as a person who doesn't call themselves a genre-based producer,
right,
I'm excited to dive into your mind.
Sweet.
Let's start off with who you are, where you're from, and how you became a music producer.
Right on. Yeah, my name's Chris, and music has been like a vessel for me since as long as I can remember. It was definitely kind of like it was a form of self-medication. You know, I found music at a time in my life where things were challenging, and there was just like a lot of uncertain things going on in my developing brain at like 11 years old. And yeah, music was the one thing that kind of brought me peace and gave me a place to just like focus my mind in a way that felt fulfilling, you know, and it was easy. It was really easy for me to kind of just like block out aspects of my life that were challenging at the time, and I could just like focus that turmoil and that uncertainty into something that I knew like really brought me energy. So that was kind of like that's kind of like when I started getting into music and when I really started to put energy into it, because it was really helping me out at the time, and I just never stopped. Like I just kept going, and yeah, I've had many different chapters in my career, but yeah, it's been a journey.
I like that, and I feel I can relate to what you just said more than probably most people I've spoke with. It's just like 11 years old, 10 years old, I picked up guitar and fell in love with music, and that quite literally was my escape up until 4 months ago,
right?
when I stopped really like being in a band kind of a thing. So
okay,
I understand the whole like, it's why we were put here.
Yeah, it really gave me a sense of purpose, and I just felt it really like, it was the thing that got me up in the morning. It was the thing that like got me excited to just like see what the day brought, because there was an opportunity to grow and improve and meet people and like just like do this thing that like was really exciting and still is really exciting.
The Ontario music scene, how is it compared to, I guess you haven't really delved into the BC scene yet, but how is the Ontario music scene?
Yeah, the Ontario music scene is quite complex, and I think it's a pretty big hub for Canada. You know, a lot of the Canadian music scene, there are a lot of avenues that exist within Ontario and more specifically the GTA, like Toronto surrounding area. Yeah, so it was a great place to come up, because there was all sorts of different styles of music, and through different eras, all sorts of different like, you know, trends and maybe not trends, but like certain eras brought different kinds of music to the forefront, and it was really interesting because there's always something new to be ingesting and learning about and like surrounding yourself in. So yeah, Ontario has a really strong music scene even to this day.
I know the Ontario metal music scene just from co-workers who are within it and promoters.
Right.
But it's the hip hop scene there that I've always wanted to be able to make it across, to be able to perform in.
Okay.
To play in the same demographic that like DL Incognito built is kind of like, would be like an ideal win for me, because like
cool.
A lot of our Canadian hip hop artists stem from Ontario.
Right.
The most popular ones at the moment come from BC, luckily. So like I was lucky enough to like watch them go from like performing, like Mercury's performing at a pizza shop in Surrey and opening
sick.
for him, to watching him now be signed by Death Row.
Right.
So like watching that evolution of the boys move from Surrey pizza shops to now they're headliners of the biggest shows.
Cool.
The music scene from Ontario has some of the best artists out of Canada.
Yep.
And you wouldn't even know it.
Right.
They just hide. They're hidden in plain sight.
Well, that's one thing I will say about the Ontario scene is like it's almost overwhelming, because there are so many artists and there's so many people like coming out of the woodwork constantly. So it's like, it's really a great place to like cut your teeth and network and develop your craft and like just, there is a place for your art, and so it's got a big piece of my heart, the Ontario music scene, and I'm proud to be from there.
I love it. What genre was your initial style of music that you started recording or playing?
Cool. It started with playing. Yeah, I started with playing in bands. And it was definitely like punk based, rock based, metal based, and kind of over the years, I started to appreciate more styles of music. I always had like a pretty wide range of music that I enjoyed, but when it came to making music, like I was very kind of wrapped up in like skateboarding culture and like punk music, and that's what kind of got me into playing and just like making friends within a music scene. Like in elementary school and high school, playing rock shows was like the most fulfilling thing for me at the time. So I definitely spent the first chapter of my musical journey just like trying to make it as like a band, like a person in a band, writing music, playing music, touring. And so yeah, that was the foundation for me. And it's still something that I really, truly appreciate. Mm-hmm. It's a part of me,
Yeah, no, I totally get it.
Yeah.
What instrument do you play?
I started playing bass guitar when I was 11, and then quickly transitioned to guitar a couple years later. And I also played drums. And drums was the instrument I always wanted to play, but was never, like my parents never let me get a drum kit, and it wasn't the vibe. My parents were very supportive in my music, in pursuing music, but I just don't think they were down with like, just having a drum kit, just being passionate all times. But there's a really good community when I was coming up, so I played in a lot of different bands with different drummers, and I kind of learned how to play drums just from stepping on their kit when they would like, take a break or something. I'd always just mess around, and then yeah. So, but playing drums has been more of like a recent endeavor. But yeah, so those are the three instruments that I play.
I love it. You sound like the Ontario version of me. I started with guitar, then picked up bass, but drums was always the instrument I wanted.
Yeah.
And literally the same reason was like, it's too loud, I'm not getting you one of those. At least that you have headphones.
Yeah, exactly. It's the most fun. Playing drums is the most fun. It's such like a physical way to like express yourself.
It's primal.
Yeah, it's primal for sure.
Like it's in us as humans. Like.
Oh yeah, right. 100%. And I will say that like the opportunities that I've gotten to play drums in bands have been some of the most like motivating and inspiring opportunities, because like being someone who always wanted to be a drummer but could never call themselves a drummer, finally getting an opportunity to like step up and do it was really motivating. Like I feel like I took the biggest amounts of like the biggest steps progressively because I was just so fired up to be playing drums. So
no, I totally feel that.
Yeah.
When I picked up drumsticks, it was the first time I actually decided I'm going to learn theory for any instrument.
Right.
Because guitar theory just kind of was always like, I have no interest in it. I really don't care to understand the science behind it when I feel guitar is like a very spiritual feel. It's like it's emotional based. You can't be taught how to play music. You can be taught and to understand the concepts of music, but the moment that you're a theory player, I feel it puts you in a box more than anything. As where people think theory lets you be free, I feel it doesn't allow you to break those rules that should be broken. Because if we stuck to theory, we wouldn't have progressive music.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have odd time signatures and things like that, right? So
right. Yeah.
I find that being a music producer, starting off as a musician, you really fall in love with the music and the passion that comes out of it and what you can deliver to people. And then all of a sudden it hits a point and you're like, I need to learn to record.
Right.
And then maybe slowly dive into the production factor, and that is where everything changes.
Right.
Like it is a whole different world.
Right.
When you dove into becoming a producer versus just a musician, what was it that drew you to becoming a producer and wanting to be like, I want to produce music?
So that's a great question. Yeah, for me, it was that desire to like I was just very driven in playing in bands and trying to do the band thing and like, like go tour for a living and like, perform for a living and, be writing music and working on music. And I just like throughout the different chapters, just always found it being a little bit challenging to like lock down a lineup that took it as seriously as I did, because I was just always so driven, and I was always like a driving force in all of the projects I was a part of. And I just got to a point where I was like, okay, I had graduated high school and, took a year. I tried to get into like, into college for performance, to continue to advance my knowledge in music. And I wanted to go to Humber College for jazz guitar.
Okay.
And I applied to a bunch of other colleges and universities, but didn't get in. And so I took that year off to kind of just like spend time continuing to practice and prepare. And I was just going to try again the following year. But in that time, I also started to gain a little bit more interest in the world outside of just performing. Because performing was a fun part of it, writing music was a fun part of it, but I was also like, okay, cool. Like at that point, the bands that I were in were like, we were recording demos and projects, and it was, that whole world seemed so foreign to me. And I was like, well, it would be really great to like understand how to like record and mix, because like being in the studio was like one of the most like memorable parts of my formative years in music. And I remember one of my bands, well, actually not the first one, but one of my later bands' production experiences. Like we had a really fun time recording, and like we recorded a project like live off the floor, and it was like really fun. And then when it came to the mixing, like we had a mix done, and it just didn't feel right. We were like kind of on the fence of like whether it was the right move. And one of my good friends at the time, who was also like an inspiring figure in my musical journey, he like mixed the project for us, and he brought such a different energy to it, and we were like so blown away, like wow, like mixing can like really impact that much. So then that's when I realized like, okay, yeah, like I think I need to learn more about like production and like how records are made, because like I'm very passionate about making records, and I'd love to just learn more. And I was like, so into like gear, like being a guitar player at the time, just like amps and pedals and just like optimizing things. And I was constantly like trying different amps and trying different guitars. And I would always like mod my guitars and like upgrade them to my like spec. Like I would just always find ways to give them their own unique characteristics. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, okay, I think I need to like entertain the idea of, like music production. So that's when I decided to pivot from going to school for performance and getting into music production instead. And I went to an open house for Metalworks Institute of Music Production in Mississauga. It's a legendary recording studio that opened up an institute for production. And I got in, and I had a couple friends who were also interested at the time, so I was in there with a couple friends, and it was a really cool journey into the process of just like understanding how things worked. And like my brain just loved that. Like I was just so interested in like understanding how systems work. Like when you go to a show, like how the sound gets from your guitar amp to the speakers, and like how everything's routed, and there was just a whole new world for me to like understand, and that was just like the next level for me. I was like, okay, I want to get good at this. I want to understand it. I want to feel comfortable, and that's what kind of got me into music production. I did 22 months there, 11 months of event production and live like professional sound, and then 11 months of recording arts and studio production.
That's so cool. And for anyone who doesn't indulge in the music world, production of making music and albums and production of live performances are two different things. And they're way different. Like you meet a sound guy and everyone gives the sound guys the bad raps at shows because they're
Right.
usually cranky. But it's because there's so much to take care of.
Yeah.
There's so much going on at a live show that people don't realize.
Yeah.
Appreciate your sound guys.
Yeah. Live sound is a craft in its own, for sure. And, you know, the lifestyle of a live sound engineer is very demanding, you know. You're away from home, depending on what kind of job you do. But like if you're touring or if you're doing festivals throughout, you know, the season, like you're away from your home for long periods of time. Your sleep is compromised, your nutrition is compromised, you're always working, most of the time overworked. So it's a grueling craft, but it's also very rewarding.
Super rewarding.
Very rewarding. So yeah, respect your live sound engineer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you decided to take the plunge into production,
Right.
producing music,
Right.
and going from a musician, do you have the same thing that every other musician I've spoke with, where it almost ruined playing music for you because you started to understand it on a different level and achieving specific sounds became more of the journey than playing the song and recording the song?
Good question. I'm gonna say no. It didn't ruin it for me. It like supported my love for it.
Like that.
Because like the love of just like playing music, writing music, and just like feeling the connection. Like I think the biggest thing for me with like playing music and playing in a band was just like the camaraderie, like the brothership or like the relationships you created with the people in your group gave me like a real sense of purpose. And I really appreciated music production because when I started working with like other bands, I just became, or like other artists, I became the like the fifth member or the collaborator, and that was really special because I got to develop like very close relationships with people who I respected, with artists that I respected, for like a concentrated amount of time. We worked on a project together, and that became like our bond. You know what I mean? And I'm really privileged to say that like I've created so many meaningful friendships throughout my journey through working on music.
I love that.
And yeah, so like my love for like creating and like, you know, when I was playing in bands, I was the driving force of like figuring out the song. I was like producing the song before I knew what producing the song was. So that's what kind of gave me interest in becoming a producer, because I just I didn't have to like start a whole project to play a certain style of music that I appreciated. I could work and influence a project that I was inspired by for a concentrated amount of time, and then I can move on to something else. So it wasn't boring. There was always something new, and it was an opportunity to develop my taste in music further.
I like the way you looked at it.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Because the reason I bring that up is because when I started touching into producing, and when I was creating these songs and all the layers and all this, and you get the structure set up, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, this sounds good, and you put export.
Right.
And then you put it in the car.
Right.
There's no, you didn't EQ it, you didn't put
Right.
compressors on it,
Yeah.
like there's no limiters on it, and you're like, oh, this sounds like trash.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And then learning how mixing, first of all, mixing works with EQs. Compression is not just one type of compression. Compressors do multiple jobs, which is something
Right.
I never learned.
Right.
So it wasn't up until like recently when I was producing my last EP
Right.
where I actually learned how to EQ, mix, master properly, not just like
Right.
wing it and hope that it comes out good.
Right.
And I think that skill alone is not something easily learned by everybody. It has to have an attuned ear. You have to be a mixer or a mix engineer to understand
Right.
those frequencies. You can understand the theory behind it, but there's somebody like, for example, my former drummer, Andy. I don't know how he can hear as well as he does, but I can give him anything and he'll
Yeah.
make it sound 150 times better just by an EQ and a compressor. And I think that's where the true power of a producer comes out.
Right.
Is like, you guys understand the science of music, which
Right.
makes you the scientists of the music world.
Yeah,
so
right.
like, you guys are a total different breed than just like a guy who picks up guitar and plays.
Right.
The knowledge that hides inside your brain and your fingertips is mind-blowing. Because like frequencies, how many people understand frequencies? How many people understand compression if they're not taught, or like parallel compression, like things like that, like little tricks that like you learn as you do it. They're not taught. So you have to inevitably make these mistakes,
Right.
to understand how to build your own craft as a producer, to create this own sound that is you as a producer.
Right.
So like how Flood is sought after.
Right.
Flood is one of the most sought after producers of all time. But why?
Right.
And it's because his ear creates something that is so beautiful that the Smashing Pumpkins are like, we want you to produce all our albums.
Right.
So like, being a producer is like, being a musician's cool. Being a producer is an honor. That's how I've always looked at it. Like, producers are very valuable and underrated. And when you hear someone who's like, oh, well, I don't want to pay for the beat or pay for that, it's like,
Right.
you know how hard their job is? Like, their job is difficult. So
yeah, it's definitely like a grind. Like, the lifestyle is very uncertain in terms of like how you make a living pursuing this thing that is intangible but so real. You know what I mean? We just like mess around with, we make air wiggle in weird ways and it makes you feel something, and then somehow I'm supposed to make a living off of that. Yeah, it's wild when you think of it like that. But yeah, it's cool to be able to like, it's really just like, it's a language, right? Like, as you were saying earlier with rules and like theory, it's like you need to learn them, but you also need to learn how to ignore them, right? And like it all does come down to feeling, and like it's important to know how things work, but it's also just important to like try and just tap into what moves you, like what makes you feel. And that's why I love doing live sound, because like it really keeps you on your toes, and there's all of this like technology, but at the end of the day, your goal is to make the audience feel what's going on stage. You know what I mean? And you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. You have to do it like, it has to be a feeling. So I really love mixing live shows, because it like really forces me to be just like present, and like if I can make myself enjoy it, then I'm just hoping that other people connect to music in similar ways and they feel the same way. And that's how I've approached my role as an engineer, as a producer. Is just like, I'm a fan. I've always been a fan, and I'm just trying to find the things that I like about it, and hopefully other people feel the same way. And I feel like that's when the most genuine art, like maybe not the most genuine, but like the art that I feel connects with audiences and with myself, is just through putting myself as a fan, you know, and just trying to make me like the song more, make me feel the song more. And if it gets through to me, hopefully it gets through to others.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, I love getting to sit down with another producer, because I've taken, I want to say like 10 years away from actually producing music.
Okay.
Other than I was in a band for the last like 8 years.
Sweet.
We recorded 3 albums. We managed to get signed to a couple record labels, things like that, where I was like,
cool.
I had hit the goals that as a young musician, you're like,
right.
I did it.
Yeah.
Signed to a record label.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden
it's
you're like,
huge.
But then you get it, and you're like, they don't do anything.
Right.
Like, record labels nowadays do nothing. They don't even
Right.
record your music. So what is the point of a record label?
Yeah.
So when you actually like hit the goal, and you're like, you realize like, wow, like I just wasted so much time grinding for something that I finally achieved, and it's like, it's completely useless at this point. And then pivoting to being like, we're independent. That has been the greatest shift in the music industry, I feel, is having you and the band get together, create this magic, put it out there yourselves without these like corporate fingers getting in, or like telling you how to do your job.
It's so nuanced, because the jobs of the labels before used to be like, provide the budget so that we can get together and have a good time and really like experiment and like let art take its course. You know what I mean? and the way the industry has kind of navigated itself in this current form over the past, let's say, 10 years, like it's becoming, everyone is so capable of doing things on their own at home and just like in a room, you know, and that has made the process way more interesting, but also at the same time, it's just like all these different situations can arise, and it's definitely you definitely have to work hard, a lot harder for it. Like in this climate, you have to work a lot harder for it, and you really have to hustle to like make a living out of it. And it's like really a real challenge to like do music full time. So if you're doing music full time, hats off to you, respect.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's the thing is we like as a musician getting to speak with other art forms. I actually get to see, and we've been talking about this week while we're in Revelstoke. It's the thoughts come up many times for me is we're seeing all these other industries worried about AI,
Right.
and they're like painters not really gonna ever have to deal with it. You know, sculptors never really gonna have to deal with it. Jewelry makers don't have to deal with it.
Right.
We're at the point where it's indistinguishable already. I fell for an artist who is AI, who uses AI.
Okay.
He makes music, but he uses AI elements.
Yeah.
And I didn't clue in. And I keep bringing this point up because
Yeah.
I want people to understand that, like, as a musician who plays 14 instruments and has done live performances for 26 years, they fooled me. Like, it is at a point where I can't even tell the difference. And I'm like,
Fair.
heavily against AI music.
Right.
And pushing for it. But like, it was good, man. Like it inspired me to want to write different style of music. And it's like,
Right.
how do we navigate that now as like our industry? Like you're already having to fight to be able to record for bands and
Right.
produce for them.
Right.
But now we've got to deal with this whole other demon that's been created, and now we're like fighting it. But it's the reason I realized it was AI artist is I wasn't connecting to the lyrics. Like if you listen to a song 5 times, you already know the chorus, you know the half the hooks, half the verses.
Right.
I just couldn't get them. And I was like,
It-
there's
it
something
didn't-
wrong
didn't
here.
land right, yeah.
There's something wrong. I'm just not
Yeah.
connecting to the lyrics. I hear them, they go in ears and they go out the other ear, but like
Yeah.
there's no soul.
Right.
And that's what it was. And I realized like that is the most valuable point and purpose of a producer and the musician's relationship is they have this baby. They've created this beautiful little flower, and the flower is sitting in the soil, and you're the water and the light.
Right.
You know, it needs the producer to hear like, okay, well, this kick could like come in way harder, and the snare just needs a little more 1K. Like, you know what I
Right,
mean? Like
yeah.
the things that nobody is going to understand that really makes the mix pop. The point where it's like, oh, I just got goosebumps. Like,
Right,
you don't
yeah.
get that initially from just the musicians playing. It's a combination of the skill, the emotion they're putting in, and what the producer is able to replicate for every ear. Because you have to do 2 speakers, 2 speakers, 2 speakers, car test. You've got to do so many different tests
Right.
before you can even hand the mix to them and be like, are you guys happy?
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah.
that becomes kind of nerve-wracking as as a producer, because they're like, you're constantly trying to be your best, and you're competing now with plugins that are just like can
Right.
mix and master, right? But it's like
Yeah.
it can't just do what you do. Like you've spent
Right.
dedicated 20 years to doing this.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like when you're
Yeah.
dealing with this current climate, it's
Yeah.
very difficult, but it's also like you're coming from Ontario with such a skill set, coming to a place where there's not a lot of really good producers. Not Revelstoke, but BC.
Oh, okay.
There's a lack of producers who really want to dive in as producers. There's a lot of people who are like, I produce music.
Right.
Give me $300 and I'll mix it for you. But that's
Right.
not like, I'm a part of your project. I'm putting my heart
Right.
and soul into it.
Yeah, and you know, even just like the term producer is just such like a loosely used term. You know, there's so many iterations of a producer, which has evolved over, you know, the course of at least my knowledge of it for like, you know, 15, 20 years. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's pretty interesting. But I just try to focus on like what inspires me to want to keep contributing towards music and towards art, and just see where it goes.
Do you, being a guitar player who wanted to dive into jazz guitar playing, It's an intimidating style of music to play.
Right.
As a metal musician, I look at jazz musicians like they're crazy.
Yeah.
Because they're so skilled.
But also as with like metal too, like there's so many amazing like
100%.
Amazing musicians, period, you know, that it's like, and some people just can't even hear it because it's just so complex, and so like it kind of takes a bit of like massaging your brain to like be able to actually ingest it, you know. But like it's so nuanced and so amazing, you know, like yeah.
Do you write jazz for yourself? Like, do you continue to produce your own music?
No, so, and that kind of goes back to the question you're asking earlier. Like when I got into music production, I definitely put playing to the side for a long time. I stopped treating like musical instruments as my instrument and started treating like, you know, recording as my instrument. Like that was the way I was going to contribute. And like, you know, sometimes I could, as a producer, I could like give input on parts or like write lines and stuff like that contribute to the song, and I would do a bit of that, but I definitely did not practice. Like I stopped practicing as a musician and started practicing as an engineer and as a producer, like because that's where I found that I was I just was really inspired to do that at the time, and I'm glad that I did, but I also wish that I continued to practice as a musician. You know what I mean? Because now coming back to it, where I'm practicing more regularly now, like I definitely miss that phase. Like it was that could have been a really formative phase in my life, and no regrets. You know, I'm happy that I took the path that I did, but yeah, no, it's important to maintain all of your skills. You know, like be multifaceted. Like it's like really, I think that's a gift to be able to do that.
I think so too. I'm definitely guilty of like not touching my instruments ever.
Right.
Like even as a performing artist and going at like performing at multiple music festivals every year.
Yeah.
I don't practice.
Right.
And it was because like we had the songs we've been playing for 4 years, and like they're embedded now.
Yeah. Once they're kind of locked in, it's easy to becomes muscle memory.
Yeah. Until you hit there. And then all of a sudden, like playing live is one thing, but when you're going to record
you put
those same songs, it's almost like, and you realize like, oh, I've been flubbing that part up for the last 3 years and didn't realize it, or like that was wrong and out of key completely.
So many funny stories. It's so funny. This is like hilarious. I find this hilarious, but like throughout the process of like learning how to record and do things, I've taken on a handful of projects that I'm a part of playing where I'll like record certain parts and like, yeah, I know how to edit a performance. I know how to comp a performance and like, you know, put something together, like assemble it. But my ego had such a hard time accepting that, and I would punish my homies, like absolutely punish them when we were recording something to like, I'd want to do it in one take, or I'd want to get the right take as opposed to be like, oh, there's two there. I could just splice it together and it would be fine. And I just like, it's just it's so funny. Like when you're holding an instrument, this becomes so foreign, you know, that I'm just like, cool, I don't want to go and put my instrument down and like chop it up. I want to like feel good about playing it. I'm sorry to everyone that had to sit through all the takes. It was fun for me.
It reminds me of Andy, my drummer, because he's a really talented producer too. But the thing is, he's like self-taught, or he's not. So he went to school for it in Vancouver, but like he's got a really unique ear about how he produces the sound that he produces. He's very like, have you ever heard of Botch, like the band Botch?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one of his favorite bands. So like that sound that they created, that I don't even know how to describe it really, but like you listen to their recorded versions, and he managed to give that same energy to our music. So you listen to our production albums that he produced versus what the label had mastered for us, and it sounds so night and day.
Right.
And you cannot replicate his sound, and that's where I asked him, I was like, can you do my hip hop EP? Because like I want my EP to sound just as good as you make our metal sound.
Right.
And it didn't. It was completely different because he's not being able to control the instrumentals. Right. So he doesn't have like a full range of, I can run with the kick and the snare and things like that, because it's a pre-made instrumental.
Right.
So it ended up him teaching me how to do production.
Oh, cool.
So I learned finally how to EQ, mix and master, compress my own music.
Yeah.
And when I really started to like, and the things were clicking, and it's like, okay, that's how you make your vocals come more up in the mix and more present. Like the walls that you don't, the invisible wall.
Yeah.
Like the sound wall, like we hear it and we're like, oh yeah, that vocal is like vocal snare. They're right up front,
Right.
in mix. But like, how does it get there? If
Right.
you don't understand that, it's like a complete enigma, and it becomes like frustrating because you're like cranking volume and gains, and you're like, that's not how it's done. Like it's compressors and like
Right.
EQing
Yeah.
and mixing and pushing in the frequencies that you want and cutting the ones you don't want. And it's like
Right.
it is a whole
Creating
science.
space, yeah.
It's a science. Like there's no other way to say it other than like it is like rocket science for music.
Right, but there's no like, the thing is, I also think there's no formula. Like, it is a science, but it's like you just have to understand how the ingredients impact the finished product, but there's no like rinse and repeat way to do it. You have to kind of like, everything is different. Like every song is different. Every style of music requires a different, just I guess, approach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's where like I think I was messing up for years because I was like, oh well, this is the EQ I like for my vocals. Save preset.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of people who have followed that same concept where they're like,
Right.
this is like, they just load their presets in and then they put it out. But it's like, you're almost doing a disjustice to your music
Right.
by not allowing it to be produced fully. Because people aren't going to enjoy, they'll listen to it, but they're not going to get that, ooh, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
where they feel it in their bones. And that's like, that's done with frequencies. That's why EQ is so valuable.
Right.
You can change an entire song's vibe by a hidden frequency with an EQ, like
Right.
where it's like you hit the higher frequencies and you're like wrecking somebody's ears. So like there's a lot of value in the EQ spectrum that I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful that is alone.
Yeah, and certain things can definitely impact that. Even just the register in which the voice is doing, whether it's a low voice or a more falsetto or like whatever, however the performance is, like, that alone can change so much. So unless you're like doing the same type of, rap on every song, then maybe a preset could work. But like, energy is, and that's what I try to like, just like remind myself and feel my process of just like reading the energy. I mean, like, okay, like what is the feeling here? You know what I mean? And working towards that as opposed to like the science of it.
Do you ever find that trying to match feel with EQing can be difficult sometimes? Like depending on the song, how it is, like you're like, oh, well, this should work, but it's not seeming to blend nicely?
No, because I don't do any like in theory, like there's no like in theory, this is my approach. Like I really just like, I don't like, I think the way I've developed my ability to like mix, for example, and be able to mix something that translates. So the way I hear it when I'm mixing translates into the outside world because no one else is going to come listen to it in this room, or on the headphones I'm using. It's like the world's listening in on a completely different medium. To me, it doesn't really matter like what tools I'm using.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It's really just about like, I'm just listening and I'm hearing what's getting in the way, what's like clouding up the concept, like, and I'm just like trying to just, it's kind of like Tetris. I'm kind of just like moving things around in real time as it's coming. Like, oh, cool. If I do this to something, it impacts the way this stuff sounds. Okay, cool. So let me like, I'm not thinking. I'm just, it's like flow state. Like it truly is flow state. I'm just kind of there, like just tweaking around until it feels right. And like I'm using my body as a meter. Like if I'm moving and I'm feeling it and I'm like getting into it, then I feel like I'm heading in a right direction. And that's all subjective because I could like craft a mix or something together and send it to an artist and be really stoked on it. And then they can come back and be like, ooh, that's not the vibe. Like, that's actually not what I'm like, interesting take, but like, that's not what I'm going for. And then you have to, understand further and reapproach or make and sometimes making a small adjustment can play such a big part on the outcome, right? So it's like, that's what's inspiring to me as well too. It's like, there's no one way to do it. And every artist that I work with, it's like, developing a new relationship and like getting to know them and getting to know their taste and getting to know their preference because my taste is not their taste and their music. So like, I have to understand like what they're going for. And, most of the time that is like, there's a lot of great insight there for me and I'm able to carry that into my Rolodex of just like insights that I've learned over the years, and it helps me get better at mixing. And you develop relationships with certain artists. There's some certain artists that I've worked with for so long now that I can send them a mix and not get notes back and just be like, it's good, we're done, next, and that's a great feeling. Mm-hmm. But there's some times where you go to, mix 5, mix 8, like you're going through it and like understanding the process and just rolling with it. So
I like the way you look at production. I've spoken with a lot of producers, and a lot of producers tend to have like I don't want to sound like a jerk to any of my friends who are producers, but they have like a rigid view on it. Like there's like the structure that you have to follow or it's not standard. And I feel like that's where I always get like frustrated with mixes, because like you said, there is no standard. Every song is different. Every instrument is different. Every take is different. So like you've got to really, it's not all on the producer either. Like that's another thing. Like if you're unhappy with the
100%,
mix, like 100%. It's probably 90% your performance versus the mix. Like you're can you fix that flub? Sure. And they're like, dude, you did that. That is you messing up the guitar.
But the answer is yes, I can.
I can fix it, but like you could have just done a full take and done it in one and done good instead of splicing the thing. So
we don't got time for that.
And that's why you and Andy, I feel like you guys would have a great conversation, because he is
I'd love to meet Andy. Sounds like a great guy.
He's a very get it done in one take, because I don't want to splice it either. Like I want to see perfection.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's very difficult.
That's just for me. That's like something I do for myself when I am the musician and when I'm on my own time. But
it's definitely good to put yourself to a standard though as a recording artist. Like I think it is a good thing that if you're going in to record, you can do it in one take. So you're not wasting your money, the producer's time, because that's very valuable. Yeah. You can be mixing someone else's stuff while you're messing up your song. Get your song down before you come into the studio.
But what I agree with that to a degree, because obviously there needs to be room for just like interpretation and learning, because sometimes you're learning as you go. But I do agree that like I think the most like moving thing about music is performance, is the way it's performed. So if you can come in with the mindset like, okay, I'm going to try and do the best take that I can, it means you've done your homework, and it means that you have a good understanding of like where the song is coming from, emotionally. Like, okay, whatever the song is about, I know why I wrote it. I know the feeling that I'm chasing making this song, and like sticking to that. And then it's a whole process of trying to get your body, let's say as a vocalist, like trying to get your body to like channel all of that in a way that sounds appropriate for the feeling. Like that's a hard task, but there's a lot of appreciation that I have for artists who do their homework and can come in, and maybe it's not one take, but it's like close enough, because it's definitely not fun it's not fun to sit there and run takes and lose context on what you're listening to if you're constantly just listening to like takes after takes or ideas after ideas, and you kind of lose sight of what you're ingesting, and then your surroundings also become a factor. Like, okay, well, it's getting late, or I'm getting hungry, or I'm running out of energy, or whatever. All of those things impact art, and that is not always conducive, because the take that you end up going with is going to go into a song that will be available forever. So like you got to feel 100 on it, or you have to feel like you have to have a feeling behind it, right? So
this is where I love being a musician and speaking with a producer, because painters don't have to deal with that.
Right.
Sculptors don't have to deal with that. Like to be a musician, this is where like I have my love-hate relationship with music now. And like I'm like in this weird middle ground, because I'm like, I love music for what it is.
Right.
But being in the music industry for 26 years has killed my love for music.
Yeah, it's not easy, like I get it. And like the current state that we're in now, like, for example, when 20 years ago, when record labels were funding projects and artists were using other people's money, which was their money, but like other people's money that they were going to have to pay back in the long run to experiment and like come up with ideas in the studio and put things down, like the craftsmanship had to be higher because you couldn't go in and waste all that time. Sometimes people did, and great albums came out of that. So no slight to that. But like, you know, in this day and age, it's so easy for us to just do it ourselves. So you can spend as much time as you need on it. And that, I think that impacts the craftsmanship negatively to a degree. Because being able to like, having to commit, having to like make decisions and be decisive is, I think, conducive to good art as well. Like overthinking can be the worst. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's some good insight that comes from like, oh, you know, I sat on it and I feel like this is the right direction, you know, great. But like overthinking is like the enemy. And I feel like if you can be present and just like sit with what you're doing in the moment, like I feel like really great results can come from that. And that's something like you had to be a good player. You had to be tight with your band. You had to be on the same page. If there's a disagreement, you had to work it out. You know what I mean? Because like time was of the essence. Resources were of the essence. You can't go change it next week after it's all said and done. You know what I mean? It kind of forced you to be more present, and I admire that. And I was happy to be a part of that for a bit of time. Like happy to work on projects where it was like, okay, we're here for 2 weeks and we're all in 2 weeks, you know, whatever it is, or a month, whatever it was. Like working on a body of work was like, or a couple days, whatever it was just like really fun. To just like your whole life was just that. As opposed to like, oh yeah, I have a session, we'll do a couple hours and then I have to go to work or I have to go take care of my kids or like whatever. That's all great too, but like some of the most like memorable experiences for me were like when we just like shut the world out and like worked on something for a condensed period of time.
No, I'm with you on that. That's unfortunately how like we recorded our final album with the band was we ended up, because we couldn't get together all the time. We tried to.
Right.
When it came to recording guitars, it was like the whole band was together. Okay. Because if I'm messing up or Josh was messing up, that we were told like stop, redo it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No,
we want perfection.
Yeah.
But like constantly chasing perfection also doesn't allow you to have creativity.
Right.
Because then that's where I think it's like, especially in the metal industry, it's very like now.
Yeah, yeah, now for sure.
That's where I was like asking about jazz. Like jazz,
yeah. Oh, right.
Stepping into a different style of music and like one that is, there is no rules. Like that's how I feel at jazz. There is no rule in music for jazz. Like they can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And that's what makes jazz beautiful is they have that freedom to
expression. Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I think that's what is lacking in every other genre right now is that ability to just be like, I'm stepping outside the box.
Right.
Like every hip hop artist now sings with auto-tune and there's not even rapping. They're just singing a melody on auto-tune to a trap beat and you're like, where's the originality? And then you hear like a unique artist from like Texas and you're like, dang, dude, you're pushing limits. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, right. No, 100%. And I think that's something that we're looking for so much in this day and age. It's like the music industry is so oversaturated. So you have to search more in depth to find something that actually resonates with you. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I mean, it was easier to come across good music, you know, when it was harder to make good music because if you weren't good at it, you know, people weren't funding you to get in the studio and make a project if you suck, you know.
And now you can.
And now anyone can do it.
You can buy Suno and write a song. So.
Yeah, right. So it's like, it's a different climate for sure, but nonetheless, there's still gold in there. You know what I mean? You just got to go look for it.
And I think that's kind of a cool thing that you get to come to Revelstoke from like the music capital of Canada.
Right.
You're moving to Revelstoke, this tiny little town in BC that has like, there are some really cool bands here.
Yeah.
If you get the chance, check out Girth.
Okay,
If you like progressive metal,
sick.
These three boys, man, they will blow your mind off.
Amazing.
Like, they are so talented.
Sick.
And they're from here, and there's a handful of bands that are from here that are just incredible, but they're like they're hidden in this little valley. You know?
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I came here with I first came to Revi just as I just wanted to get a break from the city and from the madness. Like I didn't realize how overstimulated I was being in a city like Toronto, and then coming out here like really put it into perspective. And the one thing that I really appreciated about coming out here is just like seeing how the culture is like so embedded into everyone. You know, like everyone is like so, like there's a lot of respect towards the art scene. I remember I came out here in the winter and I heard of a show that was going on. And I was like, I found out about the show the day of, and I was like, oh, I want to go check that show out. And it was sold out. And I was like, whoa, like sold out. And I went to the venue to be like, hey, is there any like tickets at the door and anything? And they were like, no, sorry, it's sold out. Like you'll have to catch the next one. And I was like, I was bummed, but I was also like, wow, like that's amazing.
Did you have a sold out show?
Yeah, like in Toronto, it's like, I remember if there was an event that we were going to go to or a show, I could make a game time decision 10 minutes before doors to determine like, oh, am I going to go or am I going to bail? You know, like it's just such a different climate there because there's so much of it, but people here really appreciate it. And not to say that it's not appreciated in Toronto because there's a great scene there as well, but like just feeling the contrast was really inspiring. And yeah, the culture behind it, like, you know, like it kind of ties me back to my initial inspirations for music and like skate culture, coming to like a ski town where like skiing and snowboarding and skateboarding and all these kinds of sports are so like ingrained in the community and the culture. I just feel inspired being around it. Like coming to Revi, I feel like I've been more inspired to create things way more than I was in the city. And I think it's because I was just so overstimulated. There's always things to do that I just like couldn't, like I was just kind of just like, okay, I'm just trying to navigate and like
try to survive.
And get through my, yeah, exactly. Try to survive and just like navigate your schedule. And, you know, coming out here, it's definitely a different experience, a different pace. And yeah, like very quickly I found myself like listening to music again, because like being a producer and working on music full time, the last thing I want to do after a day of working on music is listen to music. Like I need a break.
That's why I was asking earlier. Did it ruin music for you?
No,
like the sense where like you pick up a song and you're like, oh, that EQ is terrible. That snare sounds bad. That kick could have had a little more punch to it.
I'm working on that. I'm really trying to see things for what they are and not be as judgmental as I have been, because it's like ingrained in my brain to like analyze and like, you know, yeah. So I'm trying really hard to just take in music for what it is and not be so analytical with it. But at the same time, just like, it's just been nice to come out here and just like be inspired to like listen to music and just like actually absorb things. And yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come. I'm looking forward to sinking my toes into this amazing scene that is like developing here. I think that's the most exciting part of it. It's like you can feel it's developing, and yeah, I want to be a part of it.
Oh, dude, if I could, I'd come to Revelstoke in a heartbeat. That's what I've been saying after being here. It's just like I've done 3 seasons of being in Revelstoke and interviewing people, and this is the longest stretch I've got to do, which is we're here for 5 days. And you get to go to the restaurants and you see the servers and you see the people who are around, and like there's no like chaos. Right. It's just peace. Everywhere you look, it's just like humble people doing the thing that they love. And it's kind of like, like you said, being in a big city. Toronto's way bigger than Kelowna. Right. Like Kelowna itself is like so fast paced, and like you just can't escape from the chaos. And it's like to come here is very soothing, and I'm like, oh, I wish I brought my guitar. Like, cause I would love to be playing guitar right now.
It's wild how like as soon as you just find a little bit of peace, how soon your body like and your soul just like appreciates it and wants to like express that, right? Because that's what I feel like music is. It's just an expression of like your feelings, like whether you're feeling good, whether you're feeling bad, or whether like whatever the dynamic is, like when you have space to actually just like let it out, it's really nice.
Do you think that you're going to dive into maybe doing live sound for shows here?
Yeah, I would love to. I know there's a lot of like festivals that happen in interior BC. So yeah, as I said, I just kind of got here and I've just been like really occupied with like getting set up. Yeah. So and I have to remind myself to just like be patient, because like my brain's like, oh, I want to go do all these things, right? So I'm practicing just like handling one thing at a time. But yeah, really excited to start meeting people and like getting into the scene a bit more, because there's a lot of great festivals I'd love to do like event production on, and I would love to start putting on some shows in Revelstoke, and I do have intentions to start promoting shows in town. And and I think that's just a great way to like meet people and, you know, just like expose myself into the scene a bit more, and see where it goes.
I love it because I just literally stepped away from being a promoter, and it's like Revelstoke was one that I never got to come perform in. We've always gone through it on tour to like festivals and stuff,
Right,
but like
yeah.
you never think of stopping in Revelstoke to see what the music scene is, because the art scene is still thriving, but there's like this really unique music scene here too. Like we were going to interview this street performer who's actually hosting a jam night tonight at one of the venues, so we might swing in
town.
Yeah,
no way.
so she's like
Where?
Le Baguette, I believe it's called.
Oh yeah.
So she's she does like harmonica, guitar, drums, and like while she's performing, and she just plays at the markets, and like
I've seen that woman.
yeah, Stephanie, I believe her name is, and she's
cool.
like a really unique character, and I'm like, it would have been awesome to find a location where we could have set her up to have a performance, but like kind of difficult to set up. But those are the kind of things that it's like, I miss being that whimsical musician versus like constantly having to worry about like, oh, I got to go to a show tonight and pack my gear, and like it's nice to step away and finally be away from the music scene in the sense where like I'm not having to like run a show. I can actually just enjoy the music scene for the music scene. Go to a show and be like, oh, this is great. Instead of being like,
as a listener,
not like worried about, oh, are you guys collecting door? Oh, that guy needs to be removed because he's drunk and he's being rude to people. Oh, that band's drummer's like not even here. Where are they? Like that stuff really drains you as an event promoter, and it's like to see the joy come back slowly is a very beautiful thing for me. And it's like getting to speak with producers and artists like yourself who are like, you have this beautiful passion for it. It's almost like it reinvigorates my like, I want to go home. When I go home, set up my gear and record some hip hop and see what comes out of it, right? Exactly. Like just make a beat and see what happens, because like I'm very guilty of being like, I know I'm not a good producer, so I don't produce. If that makes sense. Because I know I don't have the ear. I can produce, like, I can compose. I'm a composer. Okay. I'm not a producer.
Fair.
But I know if I need to put out my own project, I can spend 3 months mixing and mastering it, and it'll be what it is. But it's going to take me like a lot of, hey, Andy, does this sound good? What do I need to do about this? It'd probably be easier if you just came over to my house and helped me mix it, kind of a thing. Yeah. So it's nice to see like a person who has passion for producing versus just like, this is what I do because it's a good job. Right. And a lot of producers have gotten to that point of like, they're almost bitter with the industry. So like, I just got to keep doing it because.
Yeah, it's not a good job, but it's a great way of life.
If you had anything that you could change within the production industry, what do you think it would be?
That's a good question. I'm gonna try and just pick one thing. I honestly just would love to see. I think the infrastructure needs another shakeup, because it's been shook up with the way technology has impacted the industry. Now everyone is a part of the industry, as long as they get a program and start producing and composing their own music.
Focusrite.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Pro Tools.
Yeah, right. For whatever it is, and so like I would love to see the industry kind of like, I mean, maybe I'm just nostalgic. Like I would love to see it kind of go back to the way it was, where labels were actually like functioning towards helping the industry like thrive and really like finding like unique, because that's the thing, it kind of got to a point where like it was really just a money making machine, like what's going to make us the most money versus like what's actually the most interesting kind of music. So I really wish like labels and A&Rs were out there trying to give platforms to artists that have like very interesting stories and have a very like interesting voice, as opposed to just trying to amplify what's trending and like what's just going to sell. I think that's kind of gotten all twisted up in the process, and that's why you're saying like, well, what do labels actually do? Like it's pretty wild. But yeah, like I would love to see the powers that be who have the resources that be actually utilize them to enrich the scenes that they're a part of. as opposed to just trying to find things that will make more money for themselves. Because I don't think that's how great music was built. Like, yes, in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, like hits were hits and they were always searching for hits, and that's great, but like I feel like hits are like different now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like it's a whole different landscape. And I think there are a lot of amazing artists out there doing their thing that could really use the resources, who don't have the resources, and like really giving the voices that are doing meaningful art a platform. That's what I would like to see. Just off the top of my head, it's the
I
first
love
one
that.
Comes to mind.
It's funny because it makes me think of Prof. He just dropped a new album. I don't know if you know who Prof is.
No,
He's a hip hop artist off Rhyme Sayers. And
I'm not familiar.
he's like some bald guy, white guy with glasses. He's absolutely hilarious. He's like 40, I want to say like 42, 43, and he's been like the last 10 years, he's really blown up. But it's funny because like an older artist
Okay.
is currently the one selling the most albums.
Oh,
and
wow.
he's 100% independent.
That's
He
amazing.
just dropped his album, and I think like as of the day that I saw the video, 17,000 copies had sold, physical copies
Oh,
of his
wow.
album. And 2 days before, Lizzo dropped an album, 3,000. So like a major artist
Yeah.
sold 3,000 copies, and
Right.
this fully independent artist just sold
Yeah.
17,000. So I feel like
Right.
where that shakeup is happening, but it's happening through the underground. Like
Right.
the underground is like, there's always been these two music scenes. You've got the mainstream, which is like the Taylor Swifts and the Britney
Yeah.
Spears, and then you have the real music scene,
Right.
which is the musicians, the ones who have dedicated their craft for 20 plus years. That scene is finally starting to get that appreciation that it deserves.
Yeah.
As where this one's like, well, all our funding's disappearing. What are we gonna do?
Right.
So I think we're just on like this weird teeter point of where the industry is going to go back to being what you want it, where it's like it's the artist controlled, but the label has to realize like that is a unique artist. How can we help them? Because their bread and butter aren't making bread and butter anymore.
Right. Yeah. And
So-
I mean, shout out all the independent artists who are actually figuring out the climate and like doing it themselves and actually finding ways to make a living doing that. Because I think that's probably one of the most fulfilling feelings you can have when you like have cracked the code and like figured out a system that works for you, that like breaks down the barrier of like, I feel like the industry can just create so many barriers through oversaturation and trends and stuff like that to make it harder for you to connect with your audience, and for the artists who have figured out how to like maintain that connection and really foster that interaction. Like that's like so huge. So shout out.
If you had any advice to give an aspiring producer, mixing engineer, that wanted to start in the current climate and industry, what advice would you give them?
I would say find your people, like find people who have a similar feeling towards music that you do, and like create a community. Find your community, create a community. If you live in a place where there isn't much of one, like, just like travel and get out there and go meet people, because community exists where you show up. Community only exists when you show up. So if it's not where you are, try and seek it out somewhere, and follow what inspires you, because it's so like there's so much overstimulation going on right now that it's almost like it can be overwhelming to know, like, to think like, okay, where do I start? But I think if you just focus on what inspires you, and find your people, do it together, like have a good time working on music together, and just like it's about the journey. It's not about where you end up, it's about how you get there, right? So like really just like be a part of that process. Like find artists that inspire you and find a way to help them. You know what I mean? Like if there's something that you're good at that you see they are lacking, like just put yourself out there and be like, hey, I love what you're doing and I want to help. You know what I mean? And kind of just like foster as many relationships as you can with people, but make them genuine. Don't just make relationships with people for the sake of making relationships, you know, like be present and show up for them, and it will present you with opportunities to develop what you're good at. And then it's a calling card, because if you can do something that you're passionate about and that you've developed, and it works out, and someone else hears it, then all of a sudden there's a bit more of it's kind of like your resume in a way, right? So yeah, just get out there and meet people, and, you know, create community or find community and get amongst it.
Love it. I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate
and
it.
having us in your house and
Yeah.
getting to pick your brain, because
Right on.
it's nice to speak with another producer, and one that's new to the scene but not new to the industry. So it's kind of cool
Right.
that you're moving from chaos to this beautiful place, and being able to, like, fresh start. And
Yeah.
I feel like you're going to meet a lot of really great people while you're out here, and I'm excited to see what you produce while you're out here.
Right
And to
on.
hear, like, I'm sure what you come up with the people you find.
Right on, Rob. Yeah.
Thank you
thanks.
so much for being on the show with us.
It's been a pleasure.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, there will be a QR code at the bottom of the screen that you can scan. It'll take you to a form that you can fill out, and we will be in contact with you. From everyone at TELUS Story